Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm doing a film analysis, and because it is October spooky month, the prime spooky month, Halloween, I'm going to be covering Jennifer's body today and some themes in Jennifer's body. So I was actually really inspired to do this because I saw a video by Amanda the Jedi, which if you don't know her, please go under her channel and check out her analysis. It's really excellent, has some really thorough exploration of the themes. So she had recently done a video on Jennifer's body, and I was so inspired by it that I myself actually wanted to watch it. So for those of you who don't know, Jennifer's Body is a film written by Diablo Cody, the acclaimed screenwriter behind the teen pregnancy dramedy Juno. This is where Ellen Page famously got her start. Like anyone who was a preteen in 2007, I was a huge fan of Juno. No, seriously, I'm not kidding. There was this huge, bizarre Juno obsession when I was a kid. I remember that there were students in another class in my 6th grade year who had a movie and pizza party where they specifically decided to watch Juno. I am still amazed to this day that all the parents were on board with that one. So, side note, like myself, Diablo Cody is from Minnesota, and she's one of the few people that we brag about, aside from Prince. And on the rare occasion, Bob Dylan. But we don't talk about Bob Dylan, because reasons. Anyways, I watched Jennifer's Body and I really loved it, but there was some discourse in regards to this movie that made me somewhat uncomfortable. I kept seeing it referred to as a feminist horror film. But I saw this movie, and by today's definitions of feminism, there's just a few things that wig me out about explicitly labeling this film as such. And that got me to thinking, what exactly makes a horror film feminist? And more specifically, how is Jennifer's Body feminist? So there's obvious facts here. It's written and directed by women, and the lead characters, both the protagonist and the antagonist, are women. Amanda Seyfried plays protagonist Anita Needy, who is seen as the subservient, nerdy best friend to Jennifer Check, the insecure hot girl turned demon who starts killing boys in town. Also, Jennifer Check is played by someone you might have heard of her before. Her name is Megan Fox. As a quick aside, in this video, I'm going to be talking more specifically about the script, the things that are said, kind of communicated between the characters, and I'm not necessarily talking about framing or shots, in particular when it comes to Jennifer's actress, Megan Fox. Although if you ask me, she was far less sexualized than she was in her other films, so notice how in this shot, when we're emphasizing Jennifer's beauty, we're focusing on her face. There's more of a personality to the beauty. Whereas in this Michael Bay shot from Transformers, where although the character is saying something poignant, she is reduced to being a sex symbol. So clearly there's a difference in what Jennifer's Body wanted us to focus on with her character. And while her beauty and sexual prowess was a driving factor, ultimately that was not the point that they were trying to make. When I was watching the film, engrossed with the dynamic of Needy and Jennifer, I couldn't help but wonder to myself, is Needy an I'm not like other girls type of girl? If you don't know what I mean by that, let me explain. So a lot of women in fiction, media in general, and heck, even in our own reality, have criticized other women for their femininity. The more you criticize femininity or separated yourself from it, the better of a person you were, in theory. Part of the I'm not like other girls mentality arises from oppressive gender ideals, but it also comes from internalized misogyny. So here's how this plays out kind of in Jennifer's Body. So we have Jennifer, who is the hot one, Needy, who is the geeky one. Because Jennifer is hot and promiscuous, she's evil. Because Needy is geeky and modest, she's the good one. Needy is not like other girls. She reads books, she's engaged in her classes. Jennifer is not, and is more focused on stereotypical feminine things. Needy is overlooked by everyone because she's not as gorgeous as Jennifer, but in the end, it's Needy who remains triumphant. Or so you might believe, but just wait a few minutes. We're going to circle back to the idea of what the ending's trying to communicate here. So the kind of feminism that we see in Jennifer's Body is reflective of its time. The film released in 2009, and while a lot of the themes still ring true, the surprisingly sensitive and candid exploration of teenage girls' sexualities, the way in which women are objectified, the exploration of toxic female friendships, the lack of empathy for Jennifer's character in the script itself stings a bit, and somewhat undermines the points that the movie tries to make. The feminism in this film isn't shallow per se, but it's certainly contradictory. It feels a little painful that Megan Fox herself says things like she doesn't believe there's a space for her in feminism because of her beauty, and Jennifer doesn't even get a space in her own story because of her beauty as well. Honestly, it feels very uncomfortably meta. And this is what disappointed me when watching the film. Her complexities about her beauty, Needy attacking her for lacking social relevance as of late, Jennifer's jealousy over Needy's boyfriend Chip, all are kinda swept under the rug. Jennifer is honest to God mocked for having an eating disorder by Needy. For a minute, just put aside the fact that Jennifer is a cannibalistic monster throughout this film. I know it's hard, but please just try.
Still socially relevant.
And when you didn't need laxatives to stay skinny.
That's a f***ing eating disorder. You know, an eating disorder, something that 9% of the US population will suffer from in their lifetime. And it's something that can kill you. And so Needy knows that she has this, has done nothing to help her about it as far as we know, and then uses it to insult her? What a very low and awful blow to make. And I mean, that's how you know that this film's humor is so 2009, honestly. So clearly throughout the film, we know as the audience that Jennifer is more than just the insecure hot girl. Like Needy, Jennifer is struggling with a ton of really awful things, but unlike Needy, Jennifer doesn't get the opportunity to explore that, uncover that, or have those experiences validated. She just goes on a killing rampage and is staked through the heart. It's honestly so fitting that the title of this movie is Jennifer's Body, because it only reinforces the fact that Jennifer isn't given agency in a story that's allegedly about her. She's only allowed to be a sex symbol and a deadly temptress. It's also interesting that the film is called Jennifer's Body because it makes you think that it's actually about Jennifer herself, when Jennifer's really just used as an object to draw you into the story, and the story's really about Needy. Needy's the true protagonist.
Oh, well, that's just the point.
Well, cool, I guess, except really not cool. I mean, I personally don't see the point in saying this character isn't what you think she is, which is what the film is essentially trying to say, and then not giving the character an opportunity to follow through on that or really explore that more on screen. And I'm not denying that Jennifer wasn't a bully or a master manipulator or even a horrible person. She absolutely was all of those things. But she was never given an opportunity to redeem herself. Her character goes from being deplorable to being completely evil without remotely a sense of guilt. Perhaps that's just because Jennifer knows that she needs to eat in order to sustain herself. It's a simple necessity, but I think it has more to do with her desperate desire to have power. When she can't rely on her beauty to get ahead, she can just use her powers to kill or control people. Throughout the film, I kept waiting for a moment when Jennifer would have some monologue, breakdown, or a moment where she was just able to explain why she could keep eating boys without experiencing guilt and making Needy's life difficult. I wanted her to show some reluctance, because clearly this character has that emotional depth and breadth. She has had enough kindness and self-control to not kill Needy and eat her when she was arguably at her lowest moment. So why not let her have moments of kindness during any other point? I wanted her and Needy to confront each other on their diverging friendship and why it was happening, because clearly so many things are pushing them to that point. But instead, Jennifer was just reduced to an endless killing machine, one who would prefer to slaughter and consume rather than reflect on the consequences of her actions. I'm not gonna lie, I love this movie, but it's also heartbreaking. Because of how Jennifer's character was written, she doesn't get a chance to redeem or explain herself. This whole treatment has a devastating ripple effect when it comes to the other themes and conflicts within the film. For example, Jennifer and Needy can't resolve their sexual tension or work through their conflicting sexualities or sexual feelings for each other. Neither of them are gonna get closure in regards to that. Although Needy is able to avenge her best friend's death, she's still lost two people who she truly loved, Chip and Jennifer. And also, because Jennifer bit Needy, Needy has a small demonic presence, or at the very least demonic powers, buried in her body. She too may be eventually driven to commit murder in order to sustain herself. We don't know, that's just kind of what the film's ending leads us to believe. She is likely destined to a life of painful loneliness, solitude, and bloodshed. There are no winners in Jennifer's Body. Only the sad reality that girls, especially closeted queer girls, are punished for who they are. They are punished for their femininity, their queerness, their sexuality, and sometimes they'll punish each other. And ultimately, even women who supposedly get justice don't actually receive it. Sometimes we're just left to navigate the woods of our lives alone. This is both the brilliance of the film and the thing that depresses me about it. Even though it's about demons and snarky-ass teenagers, it truly reflects a horrific reality that a lot of women go through. So, is Jennifer's Body a feminist horror film despite its portrayal and treatment of Jennifer herself? That answer is not my decision to make. That is for you to decide. Personally, I think that you can still call Jennifer's Body a feminist horror film based on who worked on it and the themes that were addressed, and when taking into consideration the context and the time period. I absolutely agree that it was a film that was far ahead of its time, and it got trashed for horrible reasons. The marketing of the film was horrifically sexist, and it has impacted both Cody and Fox's careers. But I would just hope that when we acknowledge its feminism, we also acknowledge the ways in which it's problematic. If Jennifer's Body was remade today, as either a film reboot or a series, which Cody has mentioned that some execs have expressed interest in, I would hope that we get to have more of an empathetic approach on Jennifer's character. I would hope that we would get to build on this world and this amazing dynamic between these girls. I would hope that the feminist themes are upgraded to match our current timeline in society, because in retrospect, some of this hurts. As an aside, please go check out Amanda the Jedi's video on Jennifer's Body if you want more of an analysis on the themes and plot. I think she does a far better job than I have done. And please, please, please watch Jennifer's Body. You can rent it from a bunch of different places, including on YouTube yourself. Thanks so much for watching. I really hope that you enjoyed. If you like this video, please leave a like, as it really does help the channel out. Also consider subscribing, and when you subscribe, be sure to hit that notifications bell so you get updates on when I upload future episodes. Bye! Special shout out to Patreons AceWolf741, Deep Dive Dylan, Brian White, Caleb Putnam, and Robin Harper.